Hi everyone, I needed an excuse to rewatch each Star Wars one more time, so I've asked myself the following question. What's the best sound effect of the saga? Because while Star Wars is a visual masterpiece, it's equally a feast for the ears. Of course, we've got John Williams' iconic score, but also Ben Burtt's legendary sound design. Let me quickly introduce you to him before starting the selection, because he's the man to praise for that galaxy's soundscape. So every pick in this video is thanks to him. Fresh out of university, he was hired for the very first Star Wars and quickly became one of the franchise's key architects. His method was using real-world objects to create sounds, believing that even heavily modified, their origin would resonate with the audience and ground the galaxy in reality. Star Wars saga, Indiana Jones saga, E.T., and plenty others, Burt revolutionized the field, racking up 4 Oscars out of 12 nominations. Now that you know the guy, let's listen to his work, since I'm gonna pick one sound per episode, so let me know in the comments what would have been yours. Right, episode 1, and we're already kicking hard with the droid army, whose entire soundscape had to be created for this new trilogy. The droidicas have a unique sound, and the droid tanks firing on the Gungan shields are a delight for the ears. But of course, the pod race is where Burt is at the top of his game. Engine ignitions, crashes, all these sounds were taken from real-world vehicles. And George Lucas knew that his sound editor was a genius, letting him express himself without any music for most of the race. So I'll go with the sound of Sebulba's distinct plasma arc, which sets the pace for the whole sequence. Episode 2, and I'm gonna go straight to the point. I mean, that's even the reason why I've made that video. Burt's masterclass on the seismic charges. It's amazing how a single sound has taken such a place in the fandom, so don't be surprised if I spend half the video on it. I think you got it, this video is a sort of tribute to Ben Burtt's work. But I must also mention his pupil Matthew Wood, who worked with him on the prequels and took over from him at LucasFilm. So I'll let him tell the story of these seismic charges.
Chase, we have the sonic charges, which everyone really loves, the prang, the big sound there. Like we were just trying to find a sound for the initial explosion. There was like it kind of had a little poof that happened first and then it blew up again. And we kept going over different things we could put for that little poof over and over. And Ben Burtt's library, of course, as you would imagine, is hundreds of thousands of sounds. We're just kind of picking through stuff. And at one point the idea came through like, why don't we just do nothing? Let's have nothing be in that little thing. So the absence of sound really brought that moment together and made it very unique sounding, to the point of even when we released the film, people thought, the QC department that goes through and everyone, meticulously checks these movies before they go out to the public, thought there was an actual error in the film. They're like, there's a dropout in the show, the audio goes away. And I'm like, it's okay, we meant to do that. And it became something of a signature that we did in Star Wars and the subsequent films, of that absence of sound and building that thing. And that's something that, like, the experimental nature of George, I was always grateful for, because he let us do it. He's like, yeah, sounds great.
Burt has an extremely badass term for this.
It was an audio black hole in space. It creates such a disturbance in the galaxy that it pulls all sound in for just an instant, holds it, and then lets it snap back.
The silence he speaks of is used again in the no less satisfying sound effect of the Hellfire droid. Then for episode 3, have you ever heard about some General Grievous? The character design is already amazing, but his damaged and wheezing cough is terribly effective. His henchmen, the Magna Guards, also make a great sound with their staffs. And Grievous's sound aura doesn't stop there. On Utapau, his wheelback reminds us of the pod race sound, but with a different kind of vibe. When paired with the iconic screams of Obi-Wan's Boga, it's just perfect. However, my pick for episode 3 won't be the cyborg's bike. nor his breathing, but rather that of another villain, the most famous of them all. Perfectly isolated, Vader's first breath is just chilling. To design it, Ben Burr smartly used a scuba regulator in which he stuffed his microphone. In fact, we could have picked it for episode 4, but that way it lets us highlight another foundational sound effect. Indeed, the first episode release truly gave birth to the universe, and so every sound is a classic. Blasters, TIE fighters, and Vader's voice, whose sizzling tone fits perfectly James Earl Jones' performance, who sadly left us recently.
When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
However, it is just impossible not to put the lightsaber sound on top of the list. Can you guess how it was made? Well, like that, by playing at wielding a lightsaber in front of a screen. Plus, we're gonna make an exception and anticipate a bit on the next movies, since lightsaber ignition evolved twice. That one is the original sound, followed by this one, and finally that one. If you want to learn more about this, and that you're as insane as I am, check out this video that solidly talks about this sound effect for 25 minutes. Episode 5 now, which starts with a masterclass on Hoth, with the Tauntauns, the Imperial Probe Droid, or the AT-AT's walkers. As for Vader, he found a worthy counterpart with Boba Fett, whose tone is badass.
No disintegrations.
As you wish.
Yet, it has not always been like this. Before Temuera Morrison's redubbing, Jason Wingrad delivered the bounty hunter lines in a pretty different tone.
Put Captain Solo in the cargo hold. Put Captain Solo in the cargo hold.
The choice is up to you. And just for fun, this little sound from Yoda beating R2 as if it was an empty can always gets me a smile.
R2!
That being said, I'll pick the overall soundscape of the freezing chamber. It rightfully evokes the hellish machinery, which perfectly captures the oppressive vibe of the set. Finally, episode 6, and how not to mention Burr's one-man show through the 103PO in the Ewok village.
Oh gosh.
It's a unique blend of this saga's most iconic sounds. But as you might expect, there's another sequence in which Bird had a complete freedom.
I see them. Wait, Leia!
The speeder bike chase. Kind of a predecessor of the pod race, that's an amazing sequence whose sound enhances the sensation of speed.
George Lucas came by to listen to the speeder bike chase when I thought it had been completed, and he sat through it. He hadn't heard any of the sounds before, and he liked it, but he had a comment that he felt it didn't seem quite real enough, and his suggestion was that we put in the sound of snapping branches and leaves and the kind of noises you'd get if those bikes were really zooming through the forest and clipping the edges of foliage and shrubs and so on.
Bravo Bert and bravo Lucas. So I usually don't talk about Disney's projects, but I'll make an exception for this time. Kenobi's TV show is full of issues, and as many people, I'm truly dissatisfied with it. Yet it has one technical prowess, when Anakin's voice is blended with Vader's one.
I am not your failure,
Obi-Wan.
You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker.
Great job from the sound designers. Anyway, that's it. My selection is over. Go check the rest of my channel to learn more about Star Wars creation. And I reckon I don't even need to tell you which sound is my favorite.
He doesn't seem to take a hint, this guy.
See you next time.